Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Recently, we've seen a lot of announcements, a lot of reveals for Black Ops 7, detailing what are honestly some pretty good things. They've sort of been responding to feedback a little bit more now, likely because of some of the pressure that Battlefield 6 is applying on Call of Duty right now, sort of mixed in there with lower pre-order numbers, presumably, than in previous years. So they are on the defensive a little bit, and they're actually having to be a little bit more transparent and open with feedback and everything, which is a good thing. Like, they have actually announced some pretty interesting things as of late. However, while we do have Call of Duty Next coming up here in just a little bit on September 30th, then of course the beta shortly thereafter, there are some larger concerns for Black Ops 7, but also it seems like they're just very broad concerns for Call of Duty in general right now that unfortunately they have been basically silent on. We have not heard anything about these issues yet. I don't know if we're going to see any response to these issues, if they're going to continue with this whole, hey, we're listening to the community, we're responding to the major feedback. Like, it's either going to be very obvious they're blatantly ignoring these topics, or they're seriously on the defensive if they do actually end up talking about these, because for a long time, these ultimately are subjects that they're not really ever that detailed about. The first of which is one that basically all of us are pretty annoyed by, match to match. Skill-based matchmaking, engagement optimized matchmaking, whatever you want to refer to it as. We've heard nothing about any response to skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops 7. Obviously, we've seen responses to the cosmetics and how those look. That was a huge community outcry. We've seen responses to movement and how crazy futuristic the game could be. That was a major community outcry. But in all of the feedback that the community has given on Black Ops 7, right there at the top is, what's going on with matchmaking? Are we toning down skill-based matchmaking? Is this going to be crazy? Unfortunately, with matchmaking in general in Call of Duty, they very rarely discuss it. The last time we've had any actual thorough response or details for the matchmaking system was their white paper back during Modern Warfare 3. They were doing a couple of these throughout the year. I think they did one like every few months, detailing a couple of different things, ranked play. One of them was on skill-based matchmaking and their overall matchmaking process. And it was this whole super detailed thing that they went into. However, a lot of it also just kind of felt like they were gaslighting a little bit, still claiming that ping is obviously king, like it's a super important factor and that connection is a priority and stuff. But we have like actual in-game testing done that it's like, well, ping clearly is not the #1 priority in this case. Otherwise, my connection would be better. And that's why you have so many complaints about skill-based and about engagement-based matchmaking and things like that. However you want to refer to it as, it's not so much about, hey, every single match is super sweaty. Like, there are certainly players that are annoyed by that. You're playing ranked play without any real rewards at that point. There is certainly a degree of issue there for sure. But also, in my opinion, what I've always disliked the most about skill-based is the fact that your connection, your gameplay experience, your party experience is punished if you continue to improve at the game. The better you are, the worse your connection ends up feeling a lot of the time, because it can't make ping king. You have to search for these other variables in matchmaking so that you get a fair lobby by their definition, which ends up being a problem, because then, because you're good at the game, your connection, your experience is hindered. If you're friends with players that are worse than you and you're matchmaking, your skill is going to be factored into that, and then they're playing in lobbies above their skill level, and then they get stomped. They don't have as much fun, so it ruins the ability to play with a varying degree of skill friend group, which is, I think, a problem. Call of Duty is supposed to be a social game. Skill-based matchmaking does intervene in that to an extent. The problem is here, with all the flaws that you can obviously point out with skill-based matchmaking, from Call of Duty's POV, it is something that does sort of protect the broad player base, the majority player base in the very casual gamer. And that's who makes them their money. And so long as skill-based matchmaking is making them millions and millions and millions of dollars because it has retention stats that back up their claims, they're gonna keep it in the game. I'd be very surprised if they were to respond to this again after giving us that white paper. That kind of seemed like the, oh, you guys want to hear about it? Okay, here's a bunch of technical stuff that also has partially been tested and doesn't seem all that accurate, but we're gonna say it is regardless. I'd be surprised if they talked about it again. I'd be even more surprised if they adjusted it. I really wish, like, you know, instead of like a casual mode out there with bots and AI, there was casual with like toned down skill-based matchmaking. That'd be kind of interesting to see how that would actually play out in game. But skill-based is absolutely a big concern that I have for Black Ops 7. And oftentimes, even with the betas, it seems like skill based is kind of turned down a little bit. And then you come to launch and it's like, wait a second, things are way more sweaty now. Was it turned down in the beta? Did you guys turn it down so that maybe the game felt a little better? And now it's crazy now at launch? Because it certainly seems like that's played out in the past. But skill based, absolutely a giant concern still going into this game that we've yet to have any sort of response to. Personally, not all that hopeful that we will get a response to that. By the way, as we are going through some of these larger concerns as well, if you guys enjoy the video, you want to help share it around to get more eyes on these subjects, potentially help push for some responses, the best way to do so is by dropping a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, you want to make sure you're always up to date with everything going on in COD, no better place than right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Next up, another one that is long overdue from a full-on detailed response: servers. Call of Duty servers do not perform up to standard for how big this game is, for how successful this game is. You play something like Battlefield, even in the large modes, Conquest, Breakthrough, etc., you have like 60 hertz tick rate servers supporting everybody in that match. The connection feels solid, hit reg feels solid. There's not super weird stuff going on that's necessarily all net code driven. There's still some things here and there, and like even in the beta, the devs actually directly responded and said, hey, the weird time to death stuff is net code related, we're looking into it. Like, you immediately got responses there. Meanwhile, in Call of Duty, you have these 20 hertz tick rate servers that are, for what Call of Duty is, quite frankly, outdated. Warzone should be better. The big map mode should be better when they are actually present. Quite frankly, Call of Duty has the funds to invest in crazy good servers. They should do so. They just never have, because it's like, hey, people are still playing the game anyways. Why would we have to improve it? Why would we spend that extra money? We don't have to if they're just going to play it anyways, which equates to a situation where connection in COD, you have to factor in skill based obviously into it, so it's worse because of that to begin with. But then you just have these ridiculous situations where you know, shoot first die first happens because of desync and lag comp that's going on at the tick rate and everything. You have hit reg situations where it feels like you should be landing way more shots than you are, but something's going on, packet loss, desync, server lag, whatever the case is, and so you don't hit the shots you're expecting to, and sometimes that can equate to you losing that gunfighter, having the situation where people think skill-based hit reg exists, which it doesn't. It's just terribly bad servers. I can't stress enough how bad these servers are sometimes. It's been a thing for years and years and years and years and years, and Call of Duty's never really fixed it. We see them merge over to Microsoft, and obviously they take over. It's like, okay, maybe Microsoft will invest in some better stuff here. I think before they were on like Google Cloud servers or something like that, Amazon Cloud, whatever it was something else. And then Microsoft's Azure servers were, you know, in conversation there. I think they were sort of migrating some stuff over there, but I don't think we've ever really seen anything majorly proactive actually take place. We still have the situation where COD servers suck. Going into Black Ops 7, are they going to suck again? So far, we've heard nothing but radio silence on that subject as well, which again is a major concern. And then my last major concern here, which hopefully, knock on wood, you know, this is the last year we have to talk about this, but how much is Black Ops 7 going to be limited by last gen support? Yet again, this game is releasing on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, consoles that released in what, 2012, 2013? Way long ago. We are closer to the next generation of consoles dropping than we are the current gen releasing, Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5 releasing. And then we're still making the games, we're still making COD for last gen as well, which, yes, they are getting a huge chunk of sales out of last gen players still, players on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. That's why these games every single year are still being put out on last gen. At the same time, you have your biggest competitor in years in Battlefield going current gen only, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC only. No PlayStation 4, no Xbox One. The pre-order numbers have done better already, despite the fact that it's available on less consoles, which is pretty interesting. And it allows for Battlefield to make some very big technological advancements in their gameplay, better optimization, cooler things they can do in game, whereas Call of Duty has been stuck on this limitation hanging over everything for years now with last gen. And that starts to become a problem when the general experience is severely limited, maybe even hindered, because they're trying to get every single last penny and dime they can out of last gen players. Things like in Warzone, you want to see big map rotation where we have Verdansk and Urzikstan, or Verdansk and Al-Mazrah, or Verdansk and something else. Well, it can't happen because apparently last gen doesn't support the tech that they need to have that giant map rotation. They can have rebirth rotation, or resurgence rotation, I should say, although they don't choose to, which is just quite frankly, in my opinion, weird. But it does limit that severely. It limits what you're able to do in game as far as graphics go, certain optimization, things of that nature as well. It is holding the game back in certain regards. It's making them more money and more players are technically available to play the game. Doesn't mean they will, but at the same time, at a certain point, you got to commit to what's new. And it seems like that's going to come with MW4 based on the leaks and rumors, but that doesn't mean good news for Black Ops 7, obviously. So these are all, like I said, sort of broader issues with Call of Duty, but specifically with Black Ops 7, the devs, publisher, Activision, everybody is saying, hey, we're listening to player feedback. We're going to be more engaged with the community here going forward. These are topics that you see spammed on basically every single post. So if you really want to listen to the community, you really want to get detailed, you really want to get transparent and try and earn some trust back, these, in my opinion, are subjects that you touch on. Or they could go on completely ignoring these like they have for years, and we'll still sit here complaining about them because they need to be addressed. They need to be improved at some point. That said, that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, like I said earlier, if you want to help share it around, be sure to drop a like on it. If you're new here, on your way out, hit that subscribe button. Help get us one step closer to hitting 1 million subs. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.